Thanks, Alistair. So hello and welcome to our session on forming your data capture workflows with ArcGIS Survey123. My name is Scott and I'm a GIS consultant.
My name is Richard and I'm a Senior Technical Support Analyst.
In this session, we're aiming to give you an overview of some of the exciting new ways to create smart collection forms using Survey123. We'll give you an overview of the two options for designing forms before outlining how the data you collect can become part of a larger workflow that integrates with the other parts of the ArcGIS system. So for those who are unfamiliar, Survey123 is a solution for designing, capturing, and sharing data with a form-centric approach. Surveys can be designed with varying degrees of complexity and are supported for field data collection through mobile and browser-based applications. Once surveys have been published and shared with users, all data collected becomes part of your system of record and can be used across the rest of the ArcGIS system to analyze information and share insights. There are also additional tools and integrations that can help you manage and automate workflows, such as by issuing notifications or generating reports. As I mentioned, there's two ways to create surveys with Survey123. The web designer offers a simple drag-and-drop interface that allows for lightweight surveys to be created quickly and easily. This solution requires minimal training and allows users to see a preview of their survey as it is being created. The web designer also offers some exciting new features, such as the Survey123 Assistant, which uses generative AI to help build your surveys, and you will have seen this showcased in the opening plenary this morning. We also have Survey123 Connect, which is a desktop application that allows for advanced survey configuration by editing the underlying XLS form and making use of calculations and logic. Whilst Connect does have a higher barrier of entry, it really opens up opportunities for customization and allows greater flexibility in designing your data collection model. So today, Richard and I will be taking you through a few of the new capabilities in each option to show how Survey123 is a great way to design efficient data capture workflows. I'll start by looking at the web designer. And to demo this, we'll be using a scenario where field workers need to complete pothole inspections in Edinburgh that can then be reviewed and scheduled for repair. So here I am in the Survey123 web designer, and I'm going to start by selecting a new survey, which I'll be creating from scratch. Now, I could go about creating the survey in the traditional way by dragging and dropping questions to start building out my form. But in this case, I'll be making use of the Survey123 Assistant, which will help give me a head start by generating me some questions. Once I open up the Assistant, I can view some examples of what it can do, as well as understand the capabilities and limitations of the tool. To get started, I'm giving the Assistant an initial prompt by asking it to draft a survey for staff to complete pothole inspections in Edinburgh, and I've given it an idea of the questions I'd like it to include. As it begins to generate an output, I can see the questions that are produced, and I can review if the appropriate question types have been assigned. This is looking like a good start, but there is some room for improvement. First, I'll ask the Assistant to change the units used for size measurements in question 5. Because the Assistant is based on a generalized large language model, there may be small localization changes like this that I want to make, such as by changing the units from imperial to metric. Once the Assistant responds, I can validate that the change that I've requested has been made to my draft survey. And next, I'm going to ask it to add an additional question. In this case, that's an image question, so that my surveyors can attach a photo of a pothole for others to review. Once again, it'll generate a new output for me to review. And after looking through this, I'm happy with the output, so I'll go ahead and click Generate. The Assistant will now convert my draft into a survey that I can work with. So my survey has now been updated, and at this stage, it's important that I look through in detail and make sure that I'm happy with the output created. This is looking good, and there are now some additional changes that I want to make myself. I'll start with this map question, and I'll change the base map by clicking Edit and selecting one from the Living Atlas. Then I'll zoom the map extent down to my area of interest to make it a little bit easier for users. I can then start to make changes to other questions, such as by making this one a required. And then I want to update the list of options in my road type question so they match the data model that I'm trying to capture. In this case, that's A roads, B roads, and minor roads. Finally, I've come up with a new question that I'd like to include. So below my map question, I'm adding in an additional single-line question to capture the neighborhood that the inspection took place. To make it easier on users, I'm going to populate this question with a calculation. I'll use a layer as the basis of this calculation, selecting one that I've saved within my favorites, which contains Edinburgh neighborhoods. Then, all I need to do is check that the right output field has been selected and extract the location from my map question. Once this is complete, I can see a calculation icon appear next to my question. I'll review the rest of my survey, and then I'll click Preview to test that my calculation works. So I'll just zoom into the city centre. And if I start moving the location in the map, I can see that my neighbourhood field is being updated accordingly. So I now have a fairly simple survey for recording potholes created in a matter of minutes using the web designer. Now, before I hand over to Richard, it's worth mentioning that, like any AI tool, there are some considerations that need to be kept in mind when using the Survey123 assistant. You can see these summarized here, and I'll just call out a few. First, the assistant is still in beta, so its appearance and functionality is subject to change. It's also based on a general-purpose large language model, which means it's not specifically trained on GIS data, and you will need to validate and double-check any of the outputs produced. This also means the model is not built on your data, and its implementation strictly follows ArcGIS Online data security and privacy guidelines. I'll now hand over to Richard, who's going to take you through how Survey123 Connect allows you to take things a step further.
Thanks, Scott. To enhance our pothole survey, I have brought the form into Survey123 Connect. Here, we see it previewed alongside the underlying Excel form. Today, I will only focus on the main changes that I made to the web designer survey that I want to bring to your attention. These include modifying the image question, adding additional address fields, modifying the inspector name question, modifying the road type question, and lastly, modifying the pothole priority question. Starting with that image question, the camera on your phone or tablet can do much more than take photos. With last year's June release, Survey123 includes the functionality to run AI-based image classification, object detection, and image redaction models that can make your form smarter. When used in Survey123, these all fall under the umbrella term Smart Assistants. These are currently only possible to include when publishing surveys from Connect. Additionally, they are only available when the survey is run in the mobile field application. It's worth showing you how each work with a simple example, aided by a popular fruit item. Smart Attributes is performing image classification or object detection and then extracting attributes that get stored in the image's metadata. In the example, the banana is identified, and then the class name banana is extracted and populated in the form. So after the photo is taken, we can see the banana as a class at the bottom. Smart Annotation is performing object detection and then automatically labeling objects detected in the image. Here, the banana is identified and then labeled as so. Smart Redaction is the functionality to detect objects in an image and obscure them. In this last example, the banana is identified and then blurred. This is the functionality we wanted to include in our survey. This is how we did it. I've included the redaction property in the bind Esri parameters column. I'm using a deep learning package available on the Living Atlas named Common Object Detection that's been trained on 80 common objects. And finally, instead of bananas, I've chosen to only redact objects that are identified as people, bicycles, buses, motorcycles, and cars, so there'll be nothing identifiable in the photos. It is possible to use a deep learning package trained on your own photos. If you're interested, check out the Esri tutorial on identifying street signs. Moving on to the additional address fields, Scott mentioned how we are obtaining address data in the form of the Edinburgh neighbourhoods. To enhance this, I'm collecting other address data by utilising the ArcGIS World Geocoding service to reverse geocode the submitted location and store address properties in new fields. Only limited reverse geocoding is possible in the web designer compared to Connect, where I can return any fields within the return JSON. All of this is hidden from view when filling out this survey. The following 3 modifications would have been possible to do in the web designer, but since Scott didn't cover them earlier, you get to see how they're done in Connect. We are collecting the name of the inspector simply by utilizing the built-in survey property user full name accessed via the pull data at property function. The road type is also populated automatically with a point-in polygon query. I published an Edinburgh Road Network dataset as a hosted layer and then used a pull data at layer function to query the road data and return the road class at the location provided. Lastly, we are using a calculation to populate the priority of each pothole of either priority 1, 2, or no action. This is dependent on the pothole's road type and size. That covers the main body of the survey. What we have created is a survey that will be simple for the inspector to use, but it will be capturing a great deal of data, and furthermore, no post-processing will be required to carry out analysis or visualize the results in the ArcGIS platform. This is one of the things I love about Survey123. Also worth noting, everything we show today is available when Survey123 is used with either ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. One last thing to mention before showing the survey in action is we also wanted to demonstrate how this one survey can be used for both pothole inspections and also a subsequent data review by survey managers. To do this, all the inspection questions are placed inside a group and only made visible after confirming at the beginning this is a new inspection. This is achieved using an expression in the body Esri visible column. If it is a review of a past submission, the inspection questions which have already been populated are made not visible. By adding a counter visibility expression for the status question placed outside the group, this question will now be visible and we can update the status accordingly. I will now demonstrate submitting a new record using our survey. I begin by selecting my survey in the Field app. Once opened, the data is pre-populated, so I begin by opening the map and zooming to my location. Now I will attach a photo to my survey. As you may agree, that is a whopper of a pothole. We can see the Smart Assistant has done very well at blurring the car in the foreground. What you can do too is manually blur other parts of your image. So I choose to blur this bus and cars in the background. I'm now happy with the image, so I'll complete the rest of the questions. The road type is pre-populated as an A road. I select the pothole size over 75 millimeters. The priority was automatically updated, so I just hit submit. Before we view the data collected, I want to talk about webhooks. Webhooks are a widely supported method used to allow multiple applications to interact with each other using HTTP requests. In Survey123, webhooks can be set up and activated when a survey response is submitted. For example, after a successful submission of data to the feature layer, the webhook is called and it triggers another action, such as sending an email. Your workplace may have its own webhook provider, but a variety of third-party workflow services are available, such as Microsoft Power Automate, Make, Zapier, and Trader.io. I encourage everyone here to make use of these platforms as they enable you to automate many aspects of GIS workflows, saving yourself lots of time. I will walk through a simple example for you today. For this demonstration, I created a simple flow in Power Automate that uses Survey123 as a trigger. When a new survey is submitted, a condition has to be met that checks whether this is both a new inspection and that the part or priority is either 1 or 2. If this is the case, the flow continues and the data review team is sent an email, which includes basic information about the pothole, which is populated dynamically. The email also includes a link to a dashboard to carry out a review. Lastly, a report is also created for that inspection, which is uploaded to OneDrive. For those of you that haven't used reports, Survey123 website's report functionality allows you to create either a document of individual responses or a summary of multiple responses. I chose to create an individual report, so we have an offline copy of the details of each pothole which requires action. Let's review the data I submitted earlier. We know a report was created, so I will show you an example of what that looks like. I have formatted the output to be an easy-to-read table with a theme that matches my organization branding. 2 different maps help identify the location of the pothole with other information gathered about the pothole and inspection listed in various sections. We were also expecting an email, so let's take a look at that too. The dynamic text and the link has been populated. Clicking the link opens the dashboard, and I will let Scott walk you through that.
So here we have a live view of the data being collected using Richard's survey. All of the elements on display here are driven by attribute data collected in that survey through a combination of user inputs and hidden calculations. For example, on the left, we have a list of our most recently submitted inspections, and they're color-coded by their priority. We also have some charts that break down our data by the road type, the neighborhood, and the inspection time. And on the right here, we have some progress indicators that help us track our progress in how the reports are being dealt with. We also have some familiar dashboard functionality in this dashboard, such as filters that allow us to access specific subsets of our data. So here I'm filtering by my priority field. I can do a similar thing with the status, or even look down at specific neighborhoods. In this case, I'm interested in the newly submitted records, so I'll use my status filter. Here I can see that I have 17 newly submitted records that I need to review, and so I'll click the most recently submitted one that Richard showed us earlier. Using the map pop-up, I can review any photos taken in the field, and then using this embedded survey review panel, I can complete that review stage we talked about earlier. So what I'll do is I'll review the information that was submitted in the field, close my pop-up, and update my status from new to reviewed and awaiting fix. Once I submit this survey, my dashboard will be updated automatically, and if I return to my full extent, I'll now see that I have one less record to review. So using this dashboard and survey combination, officers can review information submitted in the field and allocate work for action.
This dashboard was the final demonstration we have for you today. It is the culmination of a workflow designed around form-based data capture. We've demonstrated how Survey123 provides 2 avenues for authorizing surveys depending on your requirements. You saw how Survey123 can be easily incorporated within automation workflows. Lastly, we showed how the data captured with Survey123 can be immediately consumed throughout the ArcGIS platform. The data is able to be shared throughout your organization and displayed in maps, apps, and experiences alike. Finally, the data can be easily updated either within Survey123 or by integrating Survey123 with other ArcGIS products. That's all the time we've got for you today. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got any questions about what we've covered, please come and find us outside on the Tech Presenter stand. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your conference.